Modern Dadhood. Modern Dadhood podcast.
How about that? We're back.
It's another episode.
We're here again.
Everything sounds good.
Does it?
Yeah, in my headphones it does. How are you?
I'm okay.
Who are you?
Who am I? My name's Marc Checkett, and I'm a dad of twin boy toddlers.
Well, that's good. My name's Adam Flaherty, and I am a father of two daughters, 6 years old and 3 years old, and we like to say that Modern Dadhood is an ongoing conversation about the joys, challenges, and general insanity of being a dad in this moment.
Living in the moment is a thing.
Dads, we have a cool announcement for you. So on March 7th, Mark and I are going to be representing Modern Dadhood at a 30th anniversary screening of the first live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. It's going to be taking place at 3S Art Space here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yeah, not only are we so stoked for the movie because it's completely badass, but Adam and I are also moderating an interview/Q&A with one of the original Turtles comic artists, Steve Levine.
If you live in the Northeast, you can grab tickets at 3sarts.org, and if you don't, we'll film the Q&A and make it available for you guys after.
My wife brought up something to me the other day. She said, "Have you interviewed only people that have daughters?" And I had to think for a second. And it's not true, because a couple of our guests have had boys.
Yeah, Justin's got Otto.
Mm-hmm.
Terry's got two boys.
Oh, that's true. I had forgotten about that. Where's the point where you cross from boy to man? I feel like a boy still.
Isn't it 18? Isn't that
That's what the Army says.
I have a feeling this is going to be a good conversation. So why don't we get right into the topic of today's episode?
Let's do it. Lead the way.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a jokester. Did you know this?
Hold the phone. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I like a good prank. For example, at work, I like hiding on people, jumping out of people, scaring people.
I feel like there was a story you told me very recently about hiding under your desk and waiting for a person to enter your room.
Oh yeah, I messaged Lucas the other day, and I said, "Lucas, I have a question. Come into my office." And I did have a legitimate question, but he came in eventually, and there I was under my desk, and he went right up to my desk, and his legs were 6 inches from my face. I didn't touch. I wasn't going to touch.
You're not a crazy person.
But I just said, "Lucas." and I could almost hear the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. It was awesome.
You're a bad person.
Yeah.
You're a bad person for that.
I'll own that. That's fine. I love doing that stuff to my girls too. So they're 6 years old and 3 years old, and I love scaring them. I will creep up silently and scare them. I'll do the same thing with my wife. If we're getting ready for bed, she's brushing her teeth, I'll go into our room and I'll arrange pillows in the bed so that she thinks I'm there. And then...
That's classic.
Yeah, right. And then I'll jump out from the other side of the room and terrify her. And it's now to the point where when I do it, half the time I'm actually in the bed, half the time I'm somewhere else in the room. I think it's fun. Perhaps a little bit immature.
I can't do that because I joked once with something that would be, I don't know, considered maybe scary, frightening. And this was soon after the film The Grudge came out. That's good. See, my wife won't listen to this episode now, by the way. But this is twice that The Grudge has come up in this podcast. But I left a voicemail. It was a short-sighted thing that I did. I thought this would be funny because she was terrified when we watched the movie. Let me leave the voicemail. That was in, I don't know, when did The Grudge come out? 2004? 2005? I haven't joked since with that kind of stuff. Okay. And that's why I'm still married to this day. So I know better, but I guess what I'm saying is I envy you a little bit.
I'm so driven by those screams of terror followed by the laughter. It's not just about jumping out though. I mean, I love goofing around with my kids. I love that we have a really playful relationship.
There's fun there. There's fun there that's being had.
So when my 6-year-old daughter turns that on me, I'm doing something in the kitchen and she creeps up and truly gets me, I can't possibly be upset with her. I have to give her a high five and give her props because she's learned it from me.
The prankee has become the pranker. And that's a natural evolution, isn't it?
Today's guest, I would say that he's a personal friend. He is a well-respected figure in the community, also a father of two now grown children who, from what I know of them, are responsible adults now. And Marc, I don't know if you know this, but you are in the presence of kind of a legend.
Of greatness. I can actually feel it in the room.
You're in the presence of somebody who's been roasted.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the roast and toast of Greg Kretschmar. You didn't know this?
I didn't know that.
Where have you been? Where do you live? Epping?
Not Hey. We've got listeners in Epping. I know personally at least one of them.
So I'm really excited to welcome Greg Kretschmar to the show. Thank you for your willingness to come on and chat with us about being a dad.
Glad to be here, man. I'm a fan of the podcast.
That's amazing to
Nicely
hear.
done. Nicely done, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So anyone here in New England will know you and is already going to be familiar with you and your family. But for the Modern Dadhood listeners around the country, around the world, Greg, for 35 years now, has hosted a radio program here in New England. You've developed such a devoted following. Dads who are listening can actually listen to the show using the iHeartRadio app on your phone. Just search for Greg in the Morning Buzz. Coincidentally, Modern Dadhood just appeared on iHeartRadio as well. I don't know if you pulled any strings to make that happen the day before you appeared on the show.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
But maybe even folks are using the app right now to listen to this episode. So it's very cool. And I would encourage the listeners to check out Greg in the Morning Buzz. It's an amazing show. So Greg, paint us a picture of your family.
Well, my wife Valerie and I have been married I think it's going on 28 years, and we have two kids. Caitlin is the oldest; she's 26. She's a nurse, and my son Tyler is 25, who is a grad student out of Bowling Green University in the athletic training program. So I was talking to my son on my way over here, and I listened to your podcast, and you're talking about what you're going through with your younger children. And it seems like yesterday when I was right in the same spot as you guys are, you know.
It goes fast. It goes really fast.
You don't know yet. You will. And all the things that people tell you that, you know, about being a parent and all that stuff, and you kind of brush it aside because what do they know? They actually do. They actually do know. And things tend to go faster the older they get. So the roller coaster ride doesn't slow down.
It's amazing how quickly you do realize that, oh my God, they weren't kidding. Because there's so much leading up to it, and there's so much opportunity that people take. And I appreciate this. At the time, I may have been a little bit like, oh yeah, I've heard 100 people say exactly what you just said, but they're saying it for a reason.
Right.
You know, and yeah, you find out really, really quickly that, wow, everything that these people warned me of is totally true. That things go by so fast, you know, and yeah, anybody that's out there that is pregnant right now, you pay attention. You listen to these people when they talk to you.
Right, you're right.
So I know from listening to the show for a long time, I have a pretty good idea of your family dynamic. But for people who don't know you, talk about when your kids were growing up, the different ways that you might interact with your kids than Valerie might have interacted with your kids.
It's interesting because there are definite, like what you said earlier about you and your wife being totally different. My wife and I are very different, but at the same time, very unified. I'm older than both of you. You know, I'm 58 years old, so I come from a background that was probably a little bit more old school, and I kind of mix the old school attitudes with, you know, a newer sort of looser attitude. But when it came time to, you know, lay the law down or whatever, or establish the boundaries, that was, you know, that's what I did. Valerie was the caretaker, and she's in on every detail, and I'm kind of the support system. But if they got out of line, I was the guy that had to fix that. Not that Valerie didn't. So it was definitely a partnership. It was a 50-50 thing.
Did you enjoy raising hell with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of that kind of stuff. I was the goofy dad. I kind of embraced that role. And you talked about pranking and scaring. I did that to my daughter and her friends like all the time. It was just fun. You know, you didn't want to try and see how far I'd go because I would outdo whatever it is you thought. Yeah. You know, if you thought I was embarrassing you by walking down the aisle in Walmart with you, I'll show you how I embarrass you. I'm that guy.
Don't tempt me.
I am that guy. You know, when they're 15, you can't. There's nothing you as a dad can do right, and you better just get used to it because It's coming. And let me just tell you something. It's harder than you think because as dads, we're not supposed to say how hard it is. We're just supposed to suck it up and rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you, it is not easy because it's something you can't understand as a male, right? And it's a real thing. I mean, all kinds of stuff's going on and crazy, hormones and stuff, and you just kind of ride the wave as best you can. And so we were walking through a Walmart once, and she said, Dad, you're embarrassing me. I'm like, embarrass you? I took my shirt, I lifted it over my belly, I stuck my belly out as far as I could, I threw my arms out like I was a muscle guy, and I started yelling, where the muscle milk? Where the muscle milk? And her face just was crimson.
How could you?
And I
How
didn't
could you
stop.
possibly be embarrassed by
And
this?
I didn't
This
stop.
sounds
I was kind of like,
incredible.
I'm looking for the muscle milk. And we rounded the corner. Swear to God, Summersworth Walmart, rounded the corner, and there's a display of muscle milk. And there's a guy in a tank top with a Gold's Gym tank top
course.
on.
Please tell me there was a high five
Swear
that
to
happened
God.
between
There-
these.
No, there was none of that. It was
man.
like, I look, this guy's gonna snap me in half. And Caitlin was horrified. It was one of my proudest moments.
That's
actually.
amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's
phenomenal.
phenomenal.
But that's how that's when you talked about pranks and doing so. That's the kind of thing that I will do, And she still remembers it to this day. I thought it was hilarious, but it just.
Does she look fondly back at that though now?
Yeah,
She's 20. What you
She's
said
26.
26.
One of the great things that happens is when you start to see them value those things, and it really, I got to tell you, I'm an emotional guy. I cry at the drop of a hat, and I know you guys talked about that in one of the previous podcasts, and I'm definitely emotional. They kind of make fun of me because I'm so emotional, but little things like that, when they bring it up, it's kind of like, yeah, that's because it's special to me.
That's huge.
Yeah,
a
it's huge.
turning point between Dad, you're embarrassing me, and to realizing
Right.
how amazing that is to have a really value. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
value that you can place on that type of memory.
There's nothing Caitlin likes better than popping in the DVDs of the home movies that we took when they were little. And you just sit there and you go, wow, I love that she loves to watch them. And I could sit there and watch them, and I could say to her, I remember that moment like it was yesterday. I was sitting on the floor and my legs were crossed and I had the video camera and she was crawling over to me. And I remember and I thought, this is the best day of my life. That's what I was thinking as a dad as that was happening. I honestly remember thinking that. And here we are watching it together. Now, I didn't say that's what I thought, but that's just how I remember it. You remember those moments. And the fact that they love them, that's awesome.
Was it hard when they were growing up to switch roles between the being really playful and then being a disciplinarian?
That was dictated by them.
Interesting.
Really, that whole thing is dictated by them. We kind of raised them with the attitude that you're the one that calls the shots. Like, we have the rules, but how the benefits that you get and the liberties that you will get are a direct result of how you behave.
God, that stuff terrifies me because I can remember being that age and being faced with that conversation from the kid's perspective, where my parents are like, you got to understand the consequences. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't understand any of this right now. And I'm trying to figure it all out. I feel like I can still feel what that felt like from that kid's perspective, kid being a teenager.
We are different. Our generations are different. You guys are different. I'm different. But we are different than our collective parents because we have two roles, friend and dad. Like, our dads weren't there to be our friends. There was no, like, we want to be friends with our kids. I want to be friends with our kids. I love hanging out. I love having conversations, joking around with them. But there's a time that I'm there to be your dad first and always. That's the thing. I would say I'm not here to be your friend. I want to be, but I'm here to be your dad. And that means I'm going to tell you what you don't want to hear sometimes. And I'm going to say the things that you need to hear that maybe no one else will tell you.
So I've got this problem where here's an example. The other night I was putting my 6-year-old daughter to bed, and I read a couple books to her and lay with her, and she'll fall asleep pretty quickly. It's not like I'm in there for a long time, but she's now starting to read herself, which
Right.
is amazing. And so she wants to read a book to me, and so she's reading to me, and I can't help myself. My finger comes out, and she's reading to me, and I slowly move it towards her and poke her, and it makes her laugh, and she loves it.
Right.
And then it interrupts her reading, and so I have to apologize. And she goes back to reading again, and she's reading a few words, and then my finger comes out like this, and it sort of slowly moves, and it just becomes this thing. We get into this groove where, like, we're both laughing hysterically about it, and it's so stupid. And she wants me to do it, right?
Yeah.
But eventually I need to stop because she needs to finish her book so she can go to bed. We can turn off the lights and stuff.
Daddy's got to go to bed.
That's true. That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I'm exhausted as well.
Right.
But sometimes I can't help myself.
Yeah.
So she finishes her book and we've calmed ourselves down and take a nice deep breath and we're relaxing, getting ready for sleep. And I still can't help doing it again because I so yearn for like that like laughter. Because it's like, it's enjoyable for me too, but I love hearing her laugh like that. That like true belly laugh is so satisfying.
Right.
How can I possibly like be the one who also has to say, we got to stop doing this? But when I can't help it myself.
What time's bedtime?
I don't know, 8 o'clock.
Okay. Well, what about just saying like, look, if we start reading a book at 7:30, we have to stop at 8.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a couple of times of you getting up and saying we're done. And she's not going to like it.
I know. And it's not even her fault. It's
I know.
my own fucking fault because I can't stop goofing around.
You monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And when you're having those moments and you're just feeling like I'm in parenthood, bliss, it doesn't get better than this. That's the moments where I'm like, you know what? If we're up an extra 20 or 30 minutes because we're goofing around and making each other laugh, like that's what life's all about, right?
You're
It's
right.
like having those moments of shared laughter and enjoyment. So who cares?
You're right. But real life will catch up to you at some point, and you have to be okay with that when that happens and go, look, Dad's got 8 o'clock. We're cutting it off tonight because I can't do it. That's how I was anyway,
I think what I just struggle with and feel guilty about is inconsistency. If I had a tough day at work and I come home and I'm all stressed out about whatever, and that changes how I interact with my children, or that I discipline them more because it's just a side effect of having a shitty day. I don't feel like they deserve that. In
a perfect world, you'll be consistent, but you don't live in a perfect world. And a lot of times the way you react to your children is also a reaction to the environment. Your week, your work week, and the older they get and the busier you get as a dad and at work, that's going to make it easier to be consistent because you have to be. So that kind of grows as the kids grow. The need for consistency will be easier for you.
You told me a story a little while back about your son Tyler, and he wasn't. I don't remember how old he was at the time. Maybe you can refresh me, but he pulled some kind of prank on you. Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
All right. Maybe I should just let you tell it.
Spot.
Uh-oh.
I really only brought you in here to open up wounds that have healed.
I kind of joked around with them, and I did more of the voices type stuff, like goofy voices, Geez Louise, oh my God, Dad, geez Louise, that kind of stuff. And sometimes the difficult part of being that dad is being on the receiving end of it, and 90%, 95, 99% of the time it's funny and you roll with it because you created it.
Right.
And this one day, it was Father's Day, and we were sitting outside on the deck by the pool. Beautiful day. We had drinks, and I don't normally drink, but I was having a drink with them, and we were sitting there at the table, and my daughter was across from me, and she picked up her phone, and I didn't know at the time, but she was recording. And Tyler went in the house, and he came back out around where I was at the table, and he stood behind me. Now, this is Father's Day.
This is a video. She's taking video?
Yeah, I didn't know she's doing a video. I thought she was doing a text, but she's doing a video.
What is up?
And Tyler went around behind me, and I didn't really think much about it. And all of a sudden, I looked up at her, and she had a smile on her face. And just then, there was an egg that cracked on my head. And the yolk, and I sat there because the comedy me took the hit. I knew, and I sat there and I didn't move my face and I didn't react because that's funny. That's what you do. You take the hit. Yeah. Then I got angry.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's Father's Day.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake. And I bottled it up and I didn't say anything. I made a choice to bottle it up, which it ruined the day for me anyway. I mean, I got to be honest. I got to own it. And trust me, they know. We've talked about it. And it was one of those things where, because we created that sort of playful joke around relationship, it was one of those moments. And I think the reason it got me was because I was really appreciating the day. Look, I don't need to be feted or any of that nonsense. It was us together, like you said, enjoying the moment. It was awesome. And I was appreciating that when that happened. And it hit me wrong. And maybe I reacted wrong. Maybe I was out of line. I don't know. But I was just like, the one day to not do that is this day. And that caused a lot of stress for me because I had created that monster.
Yeah, right. So that's the moment where you have to say, that's my influence that caused that.
They just were doing it to be funny. Wow. But it bothered me a lot.
So what does Tyler say about that now when you talk about it?
We talked about it tonight.
You did?
Oh my God.
Like on a drive here?
Yeah. He said, what are you doing? I told him we were going to talk. And I said, do we do pranks? And I was asking, and he said, the one I did on you didn't come out so well.
Didn't go over all that well, yeah.
It was, I will own kind of maybe reacting badly and thinking about it in the wrong way. But I also stand by my point that on that day probably wasn't a good day to do it.
In some twisted way, is it possible that Tyler was thinking he's gonna love this?
Well, he must have.
He's gonna appreciate.
He must have thought that there was gonna be uproarious laughter.
This is me showing my respect in a certain way.
Maybe, and don't get me wrong. What's weird is they're kids. They're very respectful.
Yeah,
they're very respectful. Yeah. I'm not. That doesn't happen. That kind of thing doesn't happen very often. But it was. Yeah, man, boy. Oh, I tell you that was hard to deal with, and I feel bad. I feel bad about how badly I felt. I feel like stupid because I felt so badly.
That's the thing. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, in this moment, right now, where I still am, I can see both sides of it.
Yeah,
and I can see how I bet you he thought that this was going to go over really well, and he was going to be like, "That was a good one, son, and I respect you even more for that." But I can totally see just being like, "Are you?" From your perspective at the time, are you
got to be
kidding?
Serious. Yeah. And for better or worse, you will move. You will just by the nature of how things work.
I've never told this story publicly, by the way.
Oh God,
you will move farther and farther away from that, and be able to only see it from Greg's perspective.
And it's like, and that's the real rub, isn't it? That he's not going to fully understand that perspective until he gets there, and there's no way for you to get him to see it until the time comes.
When he heard, mind you, he was an adult, and this gets back to the line of dad versus friend, because that was a friend. That was a friend mode.
Totally.
Right? On Dad's Day. And look, I'm not the guy that whines about, I didn't get any of that. That's not how it is. But I was enjoying the moment so much. It just was, I wasn't ready for it. It totally threw me. And once we talked about it, and I think they saw my point of view, my perspective, they still thought it was funny. That's one of the things you create, and you mold this human being who is going to be way more like you than you think. They're going to pick up little things about you. They're going to pick up the mannerisms and the way you treat other people. And there are parts of it that are going to come back and bite you in the behind.
One of the things that I love about this show is that we can have conversations with people who can impart some wisdom and share some experiences that we can use to shape our own parenting. So thank you for being here and for your willingness to participate. I think very highly of you. I respect you a lot.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual.
This conversation's been very insightful.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoy what you guys do. I think it's really, I think it's a great resource for dads, not just dads that are new dads either, because perspective is something that you can always use. Other perspectives are something you can always use. So thank you very much for what you do.
Greg Kretschmar, thank you so much. And we hope to maybe you can come back again after we've got some more episodes under our belt and impart some more wisdom.
Yeah. Love to.
Mark, know what we haven't done in a while?
Thumb wrestle?
We have not thumb wrestled.
Yeah.
Best 6 out of 10?
Yeah, best 6 out of 10, and we'll just let it record, and everyone who's listening is just gonna have to wait.
Unfortunately, it's kind of more or less silent. Mm-hmm. No, what we haven't done in a while is did I just say that out loud?
Did I just say that out loud?
And I understand that you have a good one to share with the dads.
I do, and I'm going to share it. So my kids started daycare recently, and I think as you do, you kind of get the daycare plague, and our family got hit pretty hard by it.
It's relentless.
Our kids brought home some weird cough that manifested into all sorts of different things. And there's been sinus infections and conjunctivitis and respiratory infections and piles of used tissues on every surface and just a sort of a haze hovering about 4 to 6 inches above the floor in every room in the house. It's just been terrible.
You walk into the house and you can see it.
Yeah, it's like
sickness lives here.
Yeah. Our whole lives is just like that message from Oregon Trail when that was like, you have died of dysentery. Do you want to continue? No. And it occurred to me during this period of time that it is really hard to teach somebody how to blow their nose. I'm sure you've probably gone through this.
When the girls were young, I tried, and then at one point just switch flipped.
Is that what happens?
Yeah, they just get it.
God, I hope that happens.
Yeah, the boys will get it.
But we're in this moment now where they are just like, they don't want the tissue near them. I'm trying to constantly just like attack them from behind, just real quick, like let me wipe that upper lip. But at the same time, it's like we want to try to teach them, but neither of us we have no idea how to teach another human being to blow their nose. So I was struggling so hard one day. I'm trying to hold a child, trying to hold both of their arms down, and I'm trying to get this tissue in their face. I'm like, I got to try something. I got to try to reason with them. I know that's...
Logic doesn't work here.
Yeah, no.
For the record.
Yeah.
Sneak attack is the best way to get that done.
I know that now. But I was like, okay, what do my kids know that I can use in this situation? And I had this quick flash in my mind of like, we have this book about a bunny rabbit, and we were doing the little bunny thing, with your nose, where you wrinkle up your nose and you kind of breathe in and out and you do this little bunny face.
I can see you doing it now.
Yeah.
Dads can't see it.
Nobody can see me. It doesn't come through.
It's adorable.
I keep doing it though.
It's adorable.
And we've taught them that. We're like, oh, it's a bunny. And then we go to do the face and they do the little face. And it's so cute to see the little nose crinkles up. But they tend to breathe in and out when they do it through their nose. So I found myself wrangling a kid. I had my left arm around the chest, both arms down, and I'm trying to just hold. It looks like I'm trying to put like one of those, things over somebody's face with the chlorophyll, where I'm trying to make, like make them pass out so that I can put them in the trunk of my car.
A rag, yeah.
Yeah, that's the position I'm in. But I'm also trying to calmly walk them through like what you need to do. And all of a sudden I find myself like just loudly yelling, blow like a bunny. Blow like a bunny.
That's a great one.
And it's definitely not getting through to them, but I'm definitely like, do you hear yourself right now, man? You're yelling blow like a bunny to a 2-year-old. It didn't work, by the way.
Of course not.
It didn't help at all. And there were boogers everywhere by the end of this altercation.
How do bunnies blow?
I don't know. It made so much sense to me at the time. I was like, oh, they understand the wrinkly thing and they breathe in and out. I'll just say blow like a bunny and magic will happen. It didn't.
And that's the process that's all happening in like a fraction of a second before it comes out.
It was like a flash in a pan.
Just comes out.
Yeah. Blow like a bunny. Idiot.
That finds us at the end of another episode of Modern Dadhood.
Blow like a bunny.
Dads, you can find Modern Dadhood at our website, moderndadhood.com, on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
The list goes on.
You can also, as a reminder, find Greg in the Morning Buzz on the iHeartRadio app, which airs live from 5:30 in the morning to 10 Monday through Friday. It's a demanding schedule. They are dedicated, all of them.
Yeah.
I love them.
That's rough.
They're awesome.
And oh man, everybody out there, you guys have been so generous with your reviews, your ratings. We love it so much. But please keep them coming. They're huge for us. Even something as simple as a 1-line review on Apple Podcasts would be really, really helpful to us. So we thank you for those of you that have done it, and please keep it coming and tell your friends.
Reach out to us anytime at HEY@moderndadhood.com. And a huge thank you to Casper Baby Pants for the music for our podcast, and to Spencer Albee for also his awesome contributions to the music here in our show, and to our intern, Nick Rose.
Intern Nick Rose.
Until next time.
Until we meet again. Until we two become one.
It's getting awkward.
It's gone on too long.
Bye-bye.
Turn it off.
Podcast. Doesn't matter.